Lord, they done gone and won another Emmy. I guess we're going to be hearing about that every 5 minutes for the rest of the season. Hey folks, Monday was night 1 of the blind auditions on season 9 of The Voice. It's my first time reviewing The Voice since season 7. I took a season off, just like Gwen Stefani. Gwen says it feels like family being on The Voice, which I guess is a good thing for her since her own family has kind of dissolved during the off season. Blake's has too. Him and Miranda called it quits. He said that she cheated and she said that he cheated, but who the hell really knows? I mean, he was married to somebody else when they first hooked up, so who knows? I feel bad for the editing team though, because you know they had to scramble at the last minute to remove all mention of her. Don't be surprised, though, if the girls singing Hell on Heels this season have their auditions hacked to a snippet. I sure hope so, because I'm sick of that song. Anyways, the first audition of the night was from 24-year-old Mark Hood. He said that his parents are his biggest fans now, but they didn't used to be because he sang secular music, and I guess they thought that he was going to go to hell. They like it now, though, so I guess they're all going to hell together. Now, Mark once played a dead guy on TV. I'm not sure what show, but I guess that kind of makes him a perfect fit for Team Gwen, doesn't it? Anyway, for his audition, he sang Use Me, and it was fine, a little over the top, kind of old-fashioned, but you knew within the first few seconds that he was going to get a 4-chair turn, because all that indulgence, they just eat that kind of stuff up on this show. It was just okay for me. The song, it's a who cares song. Mark ended up going with Team Pharrell. Well, you knew that he wasn't going to go with Blake, because when he said at the beginning of the show that he wanted to be on Blake's team, they always say that, and then they always change their minds, don't they? Next up is 23-year-old purple-haired Kota Wade. Now, Kota is one of those spoiled kids whose parents hightailed it to Hollywood when she was 11 so she could follow her dreams. It's a good thing she didn't want to be an astronaut, right? For her audition, Kota sang Bring It On Home, and it was okay. I couldn't really tell if she was trying to be country or what. She said that she's in a rock band, but she was trying to go soul. Sounded more country to me, but yeah, it was fine. Not Panda Ross good, but not bad. Everyone except for Adam turned around for her. She went with Gwen. Next up is 33-year-old Keith Simple. What a simple name. Influenced by Bon Jovi and Bryan Adams, so it's kind of a simple singer too. My expectations were pretty low. Husband and father by day, 80s cover band singer by night. Personally, I liked his speaking voice better than his singing voice. He's Irish, so he's got that accent. He did fine, but his voice had a bit of an annoying quality to me. Folks seem to love these dudes that sound like the lead singer of an 80s cover band though on this show, so maybe he'll win. Only Gwen and Adam turned around for him though, so it's looking pretty grim for him from the get-go, and he went with Adam. He'll probably end up with Gwen during the battles, though, if he's lucky. Next up is 18-year-old Alyssa Sheridan. First sad story of the night. Alyssa's stepdad was killed in Afghanistan in 2010. Fourth of the night, though, and the 3 before her made it through, you kind of knew she wasn't going to make it. She sang I Will Remember You by Sarah McLachlan, a Sarah McLachlan song that isn't Angels. This is like the first time, isn't it? It wasn't good enough. Nobody turned for her. Gwen blamed it on the song choice. I don't think that was it. I think she's just an okay singer, but then again, so was Gwen. So don't give up hope just yet. Next up is 15-year-old Siahna M. She says that she's weird and being normal would be boring, so you knew what to expect before she ever came out. One of them quirky girls, I can spot them from a mile away. She sang Fever for her audition, which is a little bit mature for a kid her age, but she did a pretty good job with it. She wasn't quite one of those quirky girls, but she kind of was. The way she's dressed, you know, they always try to look cutesy. She definitely sings different than she talks, but I kind of thought her cutesy speaking voice was a little bit of a put-on, but who knows. All 4 coaches turned around for her. She went with Pharrell only because he went on stage and wooed her, which was kind of creepy. Next up, it was a blind audition for us too, there for a little while. They used to do that all the time. I often wondered why they stopped. Maybe they did it last season. I don't know. I wasn't watching, so maybe they did. Anyway, it was Jordan Smith singing Chandelier, and, well, they've been hyping this up in the ads, and so, like it was so unexpected, and they played it up like he, I don't know, sounded like a lady, I guess is what they were going for. I think that's what they were doing. They try to pull that every season, though, and first off, no, he didn't, but he was kind of like the love child of Jake Worthington and Michelle Shamuel. He did a great job with the song for the most part, but I don't know, I would be kind of offended if they all turned around and said, didn't expect you to look like that because he sounded fine, so that must mean that he didn't look quite so fine. Of course, all 4 turned around for him, and Adam said that he was the most important person ever on the show, but he sells that to at least a half a dozen people a season, so it doesn't pack as much punch as it used to, but obviously it did for Jordan. He fell for it. He went with Adam. Next up is 66-year-old Dr. Paul. He's a mountain man, lives in a log cabin and catches his own lunch, and he's been singing since the 60s, put his dreams on hold until the economy went in the crapper, and I guess he couldn't get a job doing anything else. For his audition, he sang Mama Tried, and it was exactly what you would expect a mountain man to sound like on The Voice. Nobody turned for him, poor thing. Get on national TV, pour out your heart and soul on stage, and nobody cares. Not the only Dr. Paul that's happened to this year, though. Next up is 22-year-old Nadjah Nicole. She was on her way, following her dreams just a few short years ago, and then she got pregnant. Use birth control, ladies, especially if you're chasing them big old dreams. But, you know, it was your typical, I put my dreams on hold to be a single mother story. And you knew she was going to get somebody to turn just because the last person before her got cut. For her audition, she sang Tightrope, and it was fun, but I was bored to tears. She's a fine singer, but it just did not go anywhere for me. I thought it was just kind of average. Adam and Blake both turned around for her, and she went with Blake. Maybe she'll get lucky and he'll have a lousy team this season because I'm not even going to remember her come battle time. Next up is 15-year-old Braiden Sunshine. Says Sunshine is his real last name. Must have been born to hippies that changed their name while they were high as a kite. He looked kind of like that quirky girl that was on earlier. They're going to get paired up at some point this season. Mark my words. Anyway, for his audition, Braiden sang Mountain, and it was okay. Gwen and Pharrell both turned around at the last nanosecond, which means they didn't really care for it. But they gotta take what they can get. Braiden went with Gwen. Next up is Michael Woolery, son of Chuck Woolery, and great-grandson of Ozzy and Harriet. Of course, Chuck Woolery came in there with him, looked old as shit. He was like, oh, it's not about me, it's about him. Then stay your ass home, Chucky. No, when I was a kid, I couldn't tell the difference between Chuck Woolery and Alan Thicke. To my young mind, they were basically the same person. And so Alan Thicke's son has done pretty good for himself. Unfortunately for Chuck Woolery's son, it ain't working quite as well. That boy sounded a hot mess. Say what you need to say is what he's saying, and it was horrific. One of the worst things I've ever heard on The Voice. You know, generally, they spare people the embarrassment when they're that bad, but I guess since he was Chuck Woolery's son, they decided to go ahead and show him. And the last of the night was 35-year-old Barrett Baber, like Bieber with a babe, I guess. Now, Barrett is a plane crash survivor. You don't come across many of those, do you? Now, he's a drama teacher, and his audition wasn't too overdramatic, but it was a little bit dramatic. He sang Angel Eyes and got a quick 4-chair turn. One of the better auditions of the night, but I couldn't understand a lot of his words, though. They kind of ran together. Sounded good, but half the performance I thought he was going bilingual on us. He ended up going with Blake, though, which was pretty much a no-brainer. So that was it for episode 1. I wasn't blown away by anybody just yet, but I'm usually not. Leave me a comment and let me know if you loved or hated anybody. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and I'll see y'all back here tomorrow.